The outpost hung at the edge of a blue nebula like a lonely lantern in a cold void. Traders, explorers, mercenaries, scholars, and wanderers passed through its docks. Yet even the bravest among them avoided the chamber sealed behind the obsidian doors. Within those walls resided Queen Oro of the Keshin, a towering alien leader whose presence inspired both reverence and unease. The Keshin were known for immense strength and stern honor, and their queen was the pinnacle of both. According to ancient tradition, she sought an outsider to share a ceremonial night of communion, an event meant to bridge cultures, soothe conflicts, and forge alliances. No one wished to be the chosen guest. The ritual was not harmful, yet it demanded unshakable courage and a calm heart in the presence of a being whose voice could rumble through deck plating. For cycles no volunteer had stepped forward. Rumor swirled through the outpost like drifting dust. Some claimed the queen could see through lies as if they were mist. Others whispered that she judged intentions so sharply that the faintest cowardice became unbearable. A few insisted that the ritual was merely symbolic, but the fear had taken on a life of its own. Pilots diverted their routes. Crews pretended they had urgent cargo to deliver. Even battle-hardened soldiers avoided eye contact with the envoy who traveled the halls seeking a willing participant. The queen waited in silence while the universe circled without her. Mark arrived without knowing any of this. He was a human explorer whose ship had suffered a failure in its jump core. He landed on the outpost hoping for repairs, a meal that did not come from emergency rations, and perhaps a conversation that did not echo through a metal hull. Humans were rare in that region. Their reputation was mixed. Some saw them as bold and inventive. Others called them unpredictable. Mark carried himself with quiet confidence, but his movements suggested a gentleness common among those who had traveled alone for too long. When he approached the station reception desk, the attendant, a small-scaled being named Vec, froze as if alarmed. He studied the human with wide eyes. Vec spoke in a hushed tone. "You arrive at a strange moment. There is a matter no one wishes to touch." "You may be asked." Mark tilted his head. "Asked to do what?" Vec shuddered. "Spend a ceremonial night with Queen Oro of the Keshin. It is a gesture of peace, nothing harmful. Yet everyone fears it." Mark offered a slow shrug. "What is there to fear if nothing harmful is done?" Vec flicked his tail. "She is immense. Her presence is overwhelming. Her gaze can stop a warrior cold. The ritual is ancient. It requires patience and calm. Outsiders dread disappointing her." Mark breathed out with a soft laugh. "I doubt she is as terrible as rumor says." The attendant leaned closer. "If the envoy hears you say that he may bring you to her chambers immediately." Mark nodded. "Then I will speak carefully." But it was too late. The envoy, a tall Keshin named Rollo, had already stepped near. Rollo studied Mark from head to foot. His voice rolled like distant thunder. "You are human. You speak without trembling. You will accompany me." Mark blinked once. "I suppose I will." The corridor to the Queen's chamber felt like walking into a legend. The walls shimmered with dark metal that reflected faint blue light. Rollo said nothing, and Mark followed without hesitation. At the great doors, Rollo paused. "You may still refuse." Mark shook his head. "If she wishes a guest, I can do that." Rollo opened the doors. The chamber within rose high like the interior of a great cathedral. Soft golden glow emanated from crystalline pillars. A flowing lattice of symbols shimmered above a circular platform. On that platform stood Queen Oro. She towered above Mark. Her frame was covered in smooth plates of iridescent armor, shaped by nature rather than forge. Her eyes glowed with pale silver. Her posture radiated calm authority. When she spoke, her voice was deep yet warm, like a low note of a distant instrument. "You are human. You are unafraid." Mark bowed slightly. I am honored to meet you. The queen stepped forward with deliberate grace. For many cycles, no one has accepted my request. Fear grew from misunderstanding. You did not recoil. Why? Mark met her gaze. If the ritual is peaceful, then fear has no place in it. You seek connection. That seems noble. Oro regarded him for a long, quiet moment. Come to the platform. Mark walked with measured steps. The symbols above began to drift downward like falling golden leaves. They dissolved into glowing motes that circled them. The queen extended a hand. Mark placed his palm against hers. A resonant hum filled the air. It was not sound, but something sensed in bone and memory. The ritual had begun. The communion required no physical strain. It was a meeting of inner worlds. Memories flickered like distant stars. Mark saw images from the queen's past. Her first rise to leadership. Her oath to maintain peace. Her doubt when hostilities burned between factions she could not reconcile. Her loneliness as others treated her with reverence rather than affection. In turn, she perceived Mark's journey. His early years on a green world. His fascination with star maps. His stubborn hope that curiosity could mend divides. She felt his quiet grief over the losses of exploration and his steady resolve to continue traveling. The ritual was simple, but it revealed truths neither had spoken aloud. The words that followed mattered more. The queen spoke softly. You carry sorrow, but you hide it with calm strength. Mark answered. And you carry responsibility so heavy that others fear you rather than support you. Oro closed her eyes briefly. Yes, they see me as a figure carved from legend, not as one who can feel doubt. Mark gave a small nod. Everyone feels doubt. You should not be alone in that. The queen opened her eyes. Why do you not tremble? Mark hesitated. Because you are not a monster. You are a leader who cares. For a moment, the chamber's light felt warmer. Oro lowered her voice. You speak with gentleness unusual among travelers. Mark smiled faintly. Humans confuse people. Some of us shout. Some of us whisper. I prefer the latter. Oro's eyes softened. You give honesty without fear. That makes you capable of shared night. The motes of light around them began to drift upward again as the communion reached its midpoint. The ritual next required conversation free of formal structure. This was the heart of the tradition. Two beings sharing thoughts without title or duty. They sat on the platform. Oro's posture relaxed. Mark leaned back on his hands. She asked about humanity. He spoke of a world of seas, forests, deserts, and cities glowing at night. He described a species both reckless and hopeful, capable of fierce mistakes and astonishing achievements. He admitted that humans were still learning how to balance ambition with wisdom. Oro listened with fascination. Your kind sounds like a storm that creates both destruction and life. Mark chuckled. That is an accurate description. She shifted slightly. And you? What drives you? Mark breathed in. Wonder. I want to understand what lies beyond every horizon. I want to meet those who live differently. The galaxy holds more stories than any one person can hear. The queen nodded slowly. I share that desire, yet I cannot leave my people. My calling binds me to the throne. Mark tilted his head. You still seek growth. The ritual proves that. Oro gazed at the drifting lights. My people believe this ritual keeps our culture open. Yet if no one accepted it, the tradition would fade. When you arrived, I sensed potential. Mark smiled. You sensed correctly. They continued to speak. She asked about his voyage. He asked about her responsibilities. She admitted fear of failing her people. He admitted fear of losing his way in the vast emptiness between stars. Their candor broke the walls built by centuries of distance. Hours passed in quiet companionship. When the final stage of the ritual began, the chamber darkened except for the faint shimmer around the platform. The communion now required stillness. No speaking, no gesture, only mutual presence. A symbolic night of shared silence meant to honor trust. Mark closed his eyes. The Queen lowered her head. Their breaths moved in unison, as if carried by the same rhythm of the nebula outside. The silence was not empty. It felt full, warm, peaceful. The moment stretched long enough for both to feel the weight of solitude easing away. When the lights brightened again, the ritual concluded. Oro rose and extended her hand. Mark, you have given me more than acceptance. You have given me understanding. He stood and clasped her wrist gently. You gave me the same. Rollo returned to escort him out, yet before Mark left, the Queen spoke once more. Human, you have changed the course of this tradition. Others will not fear it now. They will see that connection with the unknown is not a threat. Mark bowed his head. Then I am glad I came. Oro's voice softened to a warm hum. You are welcome among the Keshin any time. The doors closed behind him. As he walked with Rollo through the corridor, he noticed something remarkable. The air felt lighter. The guards who once held stern expressions now seemed relaxed. Word had spread fast. The outpost no longer felt gripped by dread. Rollo broke the silence. Your courage has undone many cycles of fear. Mark answered with a small shrug. I only talked and listened. Rollo rumbled with faint amusement. Sometimes that is true courage. The envoy led him to the docking ring, where mechanics had already begun repairing his ship. Crowds gathered along the walkway. Traders, pilots, and technicians stared at him with a mix of awe and disbelief. Some stepped forward offering thanks. Others simply watched in quiet admiration. Mark felt his cheeks warm. Hiwa,